Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another edition of the Gambit podcast. This is a Grand Arena focused podcast because we completely gave up on TW, much like my current guild. And I am here with my good friend Zareth. Zareth, how are you tonight?
Doing well, Solo. I'm kind of sleepy, actually. Um, but I'm excited that we're here and doing this. This is
Yes,
good.
yes,
Um, awesome to talk about Grand Arena and all of that. Good to see our podcasting compatriot, Nev, in
yes,
the chat. It's
yes,
kind of
because
fun.
we will be over on his page for tomorrow night for the Grand Arena Center. Uh, so,
Indeed.
Nev, always good to see you. Dooffiend, as usual, how are you? Always good to see you as well. Um, you said that you're feeling sleepy. Honestly, it's kind of been a sleepy week when it comes to Star Wars Galaxy of Hero news. As usual, we record this podcast on Monday, and I fully expect that tomorrow we get an announcement of two more, or I should say, 10 more Galactic Legends requirements.
Yeah, dude. I hope we do get them. They said I feel like they said like they'd give them to us approximately every 2 weeks, like not set your clocks by our posts kind of thing.
Yeah, I am legitimately hoping for it. Just because I want to know what I have to gear. I haven't really applied much gear this past week, as we'll talk about later. Um, and I hate that. I always want to be working on something, not just oh, let me farm these chirotechs because I'm sure I'll just need them in the future. I want to farm the chirotechs for this character, and kind of like a having a goal type of thing. Um, so it'll be nice to know what I'm working on.
Oh yeah, dude. I think that's the thing that's messing with me right now. So I just got, and I guess we're supposed to talk about it later, but I just got Chupio up to 7 stars. I mini whaled him, and it's great. It's cool. I'm happy about it. He just absolutely destroyed the assault battle that requires rebels. Like he just wrecked them so hard. It was wonderful. But and he's a requirement. He's a relic 5 now. He's a requirement for Galactic Legend Grumpface, and um, it'll be great. It'll be cool. But I'm not actually convinced that I'm going for Luke first.
Yeah,
And so like I have this weird conflicting thing of like, did I just waste a bunch of gear and relics and all of that on a character that I'm not? I'll use him and he'll be useful, and eventually I'll need him. But like, I may potentially be going for the Sith guy, and if I do, then what was the you know like it didn't help. He didn't. Chupio doesn't contribute to unlocking him.
yeah, no, well, he wouldn't, but I don't think you will ever have a complaint about having Chupio done. He's such a fantastic character. You know, uh,
Right. Oh, well, and that's the thing. I'm under this weird conflict of like, I don't really regret it. I'm just a little nervous about my decision making about it.
yeah, that's fair. I I I kind of think I'm going to be going Luke on one account, just because when you look at the requirements, I have three of the five already completed, and then the other two are at G11 just waiting for the stars. So, just in a timeliness thing, Luke, at least right now, seems faster. But I'm not making the mistake I did last time of on both accounts I went for Ray. um,
Right.
this time it's going to be Ray on my or Luke on one account and Papa Pelp on the other account. It's probably going to be Luke on my main, Palp on my alt. We'll see after the next announcement, because that's really what I'm going to decide. But it was not stupid, because on my alt, going for Ray made sense because it was so much closer. I mean, my first order were so bad. But having the same character was miserable when Supreme Leader Kylo got buffed not once but twice, and neither of my accounts had them at the time. So that will not be happening this time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have some people in the chat saying like people are most people are leaning toward Luke, so they think Palp will be better. And I can understand that kind of cynical or whatever take on things every once in a while. Solo and I go on a cynical binge as well. So we're no strangers to that. I guess here's the more cynical twist on it, though. Honestly, is I think that like I think that CG doesn't know who's going to be better. At this point, I don't think that right now they might have a plan on which one they think is going to be better. If one is supposed to be better than the other, but I don't think they know, because they made adjustments to the other batch of Galactic Legends. Like previously, Rey was the obviously stronger character initially, and then they're like, oh no, actually Kylo needs a buff, and they buffed him.
Yeah.
Did they buff him twice? I don't remember.
They did, because he got the initial buff, and then the gas is still beating him with no, or gas is increasing all their cooldowns buff.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I think, honestly, despite all the cynicism out there, that CG truly wants the two to be equal, because that's how you make money. If you have an inferior character, people are going to want them less. So from a business point of view, you don't want one to be better than the other. You want them to be equal in their own ways. It just so happened that I think they had, in their minds, they had to rush out a quick fix to the gas problem for Supreme Leader Kylo, and that made him better.
Right. Well, and a lot of it has to do with community ingenuity as well, if we're being honest. Like people come up with these really cool counters, and it's like, wow, that was awesome. And Jawas should sure not kill something awesome like this,
Right.
Like, what did you expect, community? Like,
Yeah.
And people say they don't test this enough. It's like, did you really expect the dev? Like, they can't test everything. They test for hundreds of hours according to them. But it just makes me laugh. So the community comes up with these really cool things, and then CG's like, we can't do that. Sorry. So we gotta change it.
Yeah, and Nev actually said it in the chat here. Speaking words of wisdom, it's better that they buff the Galactic Legend than nerf whatever the counter is. You never want to nerf. And actually, I will say the one thing that I'm very happy about with CG is they said long ago, we never want to nerf something. If we do nerf something, it's because it's really bad. And you look back in the history, and they just haven't nerfed that much. There's Scarif Rebel Pathfinder, there's the Zaris nerf, and then Sith Assassin wasn't a nerf as much as Malak just made her completely useless. There really haven't been that many nerfs by CG.
Almost no nerfs. Only nerfs by in the same way. They gave Grandmaster Yoda a really fancy new leadership. I really liked it at the time.
Right.
And they didn't nerf it. They've never changed it since then. But what they did do is they added Bastila Shan to the game like 3 weeks after that. And her leadership was like all the things that Grandmaster Yoda did well, she's like, I do those and I do more, actually.
Yeah, I, I'm better in every way. Uh, yeah.
Dude, I was resentful and bitter for like a couple months. I refused to put a Zeta on her. I was like, I'm gonna make do with Grandmaster Yoda, and then eventually I was in a moment of weakness. I succumbed
Yeah.
to Zeta-ing her. So, and
Yeah.
I truly don't regret it at all. Actually, sure, her Zeta
No,
is
not her.
still really strong.
Yeah. Though I'm with you with the Grandmaster Yoda lead Zeta that I may have used him as a leader maybe 3 times in the past year, maybe, and that was just out of a spite. I have this Zeta, I might as well use it type of situation.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I know. On the stream we did yesterday, we did a surprise holiday special Labor Day stream with you and I and Klesso, and I had occasion to use Grandmaster Yoda lead, and it didn't necessarily go the way I wanted it to go. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So while we don't have more news, we do have speculation. A lot of people are speculating that we find out about General Skywalker, both coming back this week and getting to added to the Journey Guide finally. Well, it's been a year. And more importantly, for my alt at least, Jedi Knight Luke, everybody is thinking is coming back in the next week or so. I think September 18th is the 3 month mark. So that's what? 11 days from now. And I cannot wait for Luke to come back on my alt account. My main, I have him. My alt needs Luke so badly in Arena. It's, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. And
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
And honestly, it's not that my account needs Luke because I can climb with no problem. It's that Rey with Luke mirrors are so much faster and easier than Rey with not Luke. As ridiculous as that sounds, on my main account, when I hit other Reys that have Luke and run the same lineup and it's a true mirror match, I can finish the fight in 3 minutes. When I run Rey with Luke against a non-Luke counter, it's still like a 4.5 minute fight. It's miserable.
Dude, the Rey mirror is miserable to watch. I'm just like, this is so boring. And oh, look at her do another whirlwind. Finally, another character's dead. Like, thank God someone killed a character.
Yeah, it's to the point on my alt where I have the timing down. If I get the first, and I'm going to stress the first kill in the first 1.5 to 2 minutes, I should be able to win. If it takes longer than 2 minutes, I'm going to time out. And that's absurd because the Darth Revan meta, and even the General Skywalker meta was like, all right, 1.5, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those are the two well, actually, I guess if we go way back, the 3 metas that I didn't enjoy, they're all timeout metas.
Yep.
Like Rey is super boring. Luckily, I've always had Supreme Leader Kylo. Well, I've quote unquote always, like, I've had him as early as I could. So I've had Kylo, but like Jedi Revan was absolutely miserable, and then of course the triple cleanse madness way back.
Oh, the triple cleanse, yeah, where Chirrut was an attacker essentially.
Right. Well, and people talk about like the evasion meta and all of that, like the Maul and everything. I never thought that was that miserable, but I always had the counter team for that. I always had Rex and such. So
I didn't enjoy the counter meta, like not at all. But when you talk about hatred, it's all the timeout teams because it's just not fun. Like, this is a game. Why do I want to spend 5 battles every day doing something that's literally not fun?
That's like half an hour in a
Yeah.
day for your arena climb. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Fort Mort raiding with a party of 15. Welcome, Fort. Always good to see you.
Madness.
Yeah. Welcome, guys. This is our podcast night, so we're just talking about how miserable Ray mirror matches are right now.
It's like it's not enough to actually have to do them. We also have to talk about them.
I mean, what would be a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes fan if they're not complaining about something? Uh, and more, it's just us tonight. Just us.
Just us. Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try to just go back to our roots. Just us.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So, why don't, now that we actually have double the amount of people we had before, why don't we talk about Grand Arena? Um, and more is the perfect segue into this because he is always the man with the plan. God, does he have a plan and a spreadsheet for it? Uh, good lord. But the number one thing I have seen over the past 2 weeks between our Discord server and, our Guild Alliance server is pictures of a Galactic Legend and people saying, "How do I beat this? Here are the 6 teams that I have saved, and none of them have an actual counter to the Galactic Legend saved." So we've said this probably every episode that we've had this podcast, but please, please, before you go into a battle, if you're going to set your Galactic Legend on defense, which is fine and it makes sense, have a plan to beat their Galactic Legend. Or their just best team in general. If you don't have a Galactic Legend and they don't have a Galactic Legend, but you know that they're going to put Darth Revan on defense, have a plan to beat it if you can.
Dude, I feel like I'm talking to my 6-year-old because I'm always like, hey, buddy, like, can you put your shoes on? And he's like, yeah, dad. And then about, a minute later, hey, how are those shoes coming? He's like, oh, I got distracted doing this. I'm like, okay, well, please get your shoes on.
Yeah.
And once again, he gets distracted. And it's like this whole thing, like, could you please put your shoes on? Takes 15 minutes. And I just keep saying the same thing over and over again. But that's still, people are like, I put both Galactic Legends down. Why am I not winning? And I'm like, because you didn't have a plan and the people you faced did have a plan, and setting both Galactic Legends isn't actually the one and only way to win this game. Like, just because good players do that sometimes doesn't mean that's the formula to success. It means it's one acceptable option as a part of a greater plan that you need to have.
Yes. Yes. Uh, well, we'll talk about it later when we talk about how our weeks went. But on my alt account, I faced a man with a plan that worked because he made it to the championship round. He had double Galactic Legends. First time on my account that I faced somebody with double Galactic Legends. Nobody else in our pod had double Galactic Legends. So his plan was legitimately stick both double Galactic Legends in the front, bottom, and
Man.
only attack the top. And of course, I destroyed that plan. But at least he had a plan, and he won clearly with barely attacking. I checked his scores, and every one of his scores was literally just him attacking whatever his opponent's top was, and then he was done because his opponents couldn't beat his bottom. Um, but that's a plan. Like, your plan doesn't have to be full clear. Your plan is literally just have a plan to achieve a win, in any way you can. It's not,
Yep.
let me put this down on defense. Then when the attack phase starts, I should have. How do I beat this, guys?
Dude, it just makes me laugh. People I don't know. I think I've made a couple people mad because a couple people have just been like, "Hey, so I put all this cool stuff on defense, just like you, Zareth, and
Oh
now
yeah.
how do I win?" And I'm like, I don't think you do, actually. Like, I have all my counters set up,
Right.
so like I know what I'm gonna. I have a plan. Like, just emulating my defenses is the best way to probably to fail. Like, I, no offense to people who are doing it, and legitimately that there's a couple people who may hear this and like think I'm talking bad about them, and there are a couple people who I will say they kind of copied my defenses and they did end up failing, but they didn't have a legitimate good plan to be able to use off meta counters. So
Yeah.
like that absolutely some of them did. I just every once in a while I run into someone who's like, I don't know, they think that there's one successful way, and the truth is you got to be able to beat certain things in this game. You need to be able to recognize those things, and in your matchup, if you see that you might face it and there's a good chance that your opponent might put it on defense, then you need to make plans to um, actually negate that, to respond to it, to beat it. So
Right. It's yeah. God, if you should never copy somebody else's defense, even if it's just a weak defense, because if you're not also copying all their off meta counters, like if you're not copying their entire roster, they have something you don't, kind of by definition. Um, so my defense works because I sat down at the beginning of, that individual round and said, okay, I can counter this team with this, I can counter this team with this, I can counter this team with this, and I pray to God he doesn't have, five meta teams on defense because I'm not clearing. But then again, neither would he. But like I sat down and I thought about it first. I didn't just say, "Oh look, Zareth did this tricky team. I'm gonna throw that on defense right now."
well, yeah, it's just a matter of like sometimes I'll see something that you do solo or something that someone else in the community does. I'm like, dude, that would fit perfectly in my scheme. And sometimes I'm like, dude, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna remember that because maybe I'll change my scheme and that'll fit in. But I don't just like, oh, that's effective, I'm taking it at the
Right.
expense of everything else.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like on our server earlier, they were talking. People were talking about Ray defenses and how you can put, what was it? The anti Vader Ray team, which has Rex, L3, and I forget who else is on the team. But then that gives you Gas, Han, Chewie, Fives, and Watt for offense to take out a Supreme Leader Kylo. And I was like, man, those teams are brilliant. I would love to run that. But then it literally ruins my entire, like, it changes my entire plan. And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. I realistically don't want to do it, though. Or I can't do it, not the way I want to play. So you can see creative things, but if it doesn't match how you want to do it, you shouldn't do it.
right. Dude, yeah, it's a funny thing, having a plan. I like the I like so for Mort's in the chat right now, and he and Nev are ribbing each other, as is their way. They're
Yeah.
rivals in the same division and everything in GA Center, but it's been an interesting thing watching Mort, and he always plays like in the last hour he does his attacks, and it drives some people so crazy. They're like, hey, hurry up. Like he's just like sitting there, he's
Like
just
you
like
and me.
chatting. Well, like I've surrendered to the like I've surrendered to the idea of I can't see it from my house. Like, what, back when I worked construction for a summer, and not that everyone in construction says this, but like the running joke was always like, hey, if we do this, like we could potentially mess something up, and people would say, well, you can't see it from my house, like the argument being you can't that it's going to look you know it might look bad, but it's not going to affect my personal life, kind of thing. And you know If Mort ends up just wrecking himself in the last hour and just like sitting there, like looking at his nails, and instead of actually like full clearing, like can't see it from my house. So I have to give, I've surrendered that, or otherwise I couldn't watch him. Honestly, it would drive me too crazy.
Oh, I know. The agita of I'm gonna do this nest solo that's gonna take 4 minutes, and I have 7 minutes left to do 3 fights, and it's like, uh, uh, really?
I know. Well, and he said, he's like, you know what I'd do if I had more time is I'd just sit here on this and time out, but I don't have time to time out. I'm legitimately going to run out of time. That's it's so funny. But
uh,
I mean, it also it works for him. It's good to have a plan though in place. You know. Anyways, I just think it's a pretty fun way to do things at times. It My opponent actually always waits for the last hour, and
yeah.
or in my last match, and I guess we can talk about it later, but there's actually a good reason for what my opponent does. It drives me crazy, the style of play that he does, but it does work. So
Yeah, I've had opponents time out before. Like they were on track to beat me, and then thankfully they just couldn't finish my defenses fast enough, and I'm sitting there watching, panicked, like, oh god, he just got another 60. He just got a 60. He just got a timeout. Excellent.
yeah, that feels good.
Yeah.
I know I've had people send me screenshots of like characters that just have like a tiny bit of health. They're like, I timed out with like, with this the last character in the way of me winning. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you should have started earlier.
uh, so true. All right. We've been blathering on. Why don't we actually talk about our results from this week? So, uh, we both have a main and an alt. Now you have two alts. Thank God it's not me.
Oh dear Lord. One of my alts is gonna have to go. I
uh,
can't do this. I'm not Nev. I don't have 4 accounts that I can't run that many accounts. I just
seriously,
can't.
more power to him. I struggle on two. All right, but so how'd you do on your main account? At least in this first battle this week.
Oh geez, putting me on the spot here. I'm trying to remember how my first so it went well. I won. Yeah, let's see. So I placed my usual, just stupid hard defenses, and I ended up clearing them with, I don't know, was it a full clear with it was a full clear. Was it all one shots? Gosh, I don't even remember. Yeah, I won though, so that was
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
How did I
That.
forget?
Oh, this was your idea to go through them one by one.
Oh, you're right. I think I'm just sleepy. That's all.
Yeah.
Like we said before. Yeah, it was maybe he was the guy who didn't place any of either of his Galactic Legends, and I just full cleared everything, and it was like no suspense at all. I think I just, yeah, because
Yeah.
my second match had a little more tension. But yeah, my first match was kind of a snooze fest, I think, if I remember right. I got good banners. I got in the three, like the 17, 20, 17 or the 1920s, I think, for score.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll have to look. It sucks that like now we can't actually review right now from what we were doing. So
I hate that so much. We do this
it was
podcast at the wrong time. Uh,
yeah, no kidding. it ended up it ended up in my favor though. So
let's.
yeah, I won my first match. I think he couldn't get through. Oh, you know what the theme was this week was people took a look at my back zone and just didn't attempt anything against it. And that's what happened. He cleared uh my first two, and then he cleared my top, and then he didn't even attempt my back zone. So like my next round opponents, when they look at my score or when they look at my history, they wouldn't even know what I had on defense there. So,
Oh,
so appreciate that. Yeah, that's what happened, and I full cleared him. Uh, yeah, like I said, pretty easily. So,
yeah.
Solo, how was your first match?
The first match was, well, I went up against a Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy fan because it was against Slarty Bartfast.
Yeah, so good old Slart.
Good old Slart. It was, you know, he was not the top end Grand Arena player, and though I will give him credit, he gave my first full clear, or that an opponent had this Grand Arena. And actually, looking back through the last 5v5, I think I was on a streak of 6 people that didn't full clear. So he did give me um, my first full clear by an opponent. It wasn't a clean first clear or a full clear. He did lose once, and then I just one shot the rest of his board. And honestly, it wasn't that exciting of a match. There was only he put one Galactic Legend on defense. He put Rey on defense. He kept Supreme Leader Kylo, like most people are doing right now. And it was just kind of a, oh, all right, I won.
Well, yeah.
It's all right, yeah. And that's the thing. We're still in kind of the early stages of Grand Arena, so we're still in the people that haven't advanced up to the next level. So sometimes you get these matchups where it's just, okay.
Right. Oh yeah, you're just like, okay, well that was. I guess I'm glad I got them now because my future matches are going to be hard.
Right. Yeah. Which holds true, at least for me. What about your second round? How'd your second round go? So
Yeah,
this would have been our Friday night stream.
I'm actually looking at my opponent from my first round here. So yeah, okay. So they placed Kylo Ren in my first match. They placed Supreme Kylo in the front, and I still demolished them. That's what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it surprised me. Okay, so my second round was against someone from what was it, MC1 from Mighty Chlorians 1, so the top guild in Mighty Chlorians. And they actually told me that they didn't care much about Grand Arena. That they're like, I played this game to reduce my stress, not to be competitive. So I was like, okay, well. And so that they were like, when you're on your stream, please be nice or something like that. And I was like, I'm not gonna be mean, probably, but yeah, it was just kind of he placed his Rey, and I'm looking at the screenshots here. He placed his Rey up front. I ended up beating him with a Thrawn lead Vader team, and that was an interesting match, an interesting fight, and yeah, ended up getting a very strong clear as well. I think I got 1924. He also full cleared everything of mine. He took 3 hits to get through my Newt team, 3 hits to get through my Jedi Trading Rey team, and then he didn't bother attacking my back zone again. So on to the finals for me. And how was your match, Solo, in the second?
So
epic, I think.
yeah, so you and I went up against guildmates, and they are guildmates of the legend that is Ross, that is now in chat as well. So he was also from MC1, except for my opponent was competitive. He had 25k more lifetime banners than me. I think he was sitting at like 427 or 428 when it comes to lifetime banners. So he's a legitimately good player. But and my defense is I've switched this summer from going from an efficiency player, and he stalked your channel before the match. Yeah, he said his defense is based on my prior videos, which is no fun. But I,
That's funny.
I have switched to the full defense GOM method of I'm going to set a defense so hard that if I make a mistake, you're probably going to make a mistake too type situation. So I struggled to beat his General Grievous. I think it took me like what 5 battles to get through his General Grievous team because I don't keep enough offense at all. Um, and then luckily before we streamed, my opponent did attack. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a nice guy and a good player, but I went into it knowing that I think he only scored like 1839. He lost 4 or 5 times. And so my losses were only to Grievous, while he lost 4 or 5 times to multiple teams. So I was able to pull out the win, I guess you could say, on efficiency. I think it's more of I won on lack of non efficiency as opposed to winning on efficiency, though. 'Cause that Grievous match was not pretty in the slightest. But it's a win, so that's what's important. So that brought me to the championship. We were both in the championship this week, and how did you do?
Ah, damn it all. I just looked and I found out much like my poor Nuggets who just lost to the Clippers. I just didn't quite have enough in the tank for this one. So, um, here's what happened. I had a counter. My opponent's like an efficiency player. Basically, well, he's got a weird situation. So, first I should say he always attacks in the last hour. Like
Yeah.
he's like Mort. He just attacks in the final hour, which is like if you're gonna be like streaming it or whatever, I can understand that. It's one of the most frustrating strategies someone can employ. Like it's legit, it's fine because like it's not cheating. It's well within the parameters of what they're trying to do, but it's still just so frustrating when I don't know, like you have no hope of actually knowing how they're going to do at the end, and it's like maybe you can outrace them, in the final hour, like you can both match up against each other, but the odds are like I am almost never available at that time of day, like just never. So what he does, he puts some pretty tricky defenses down, and then all he does, he just like if someone fails to full clear, then he just ignores what's in the back zone and goes for the efficiency kill. And that's what my opponent did. So I went in. There was a Ray team. It was a pretty unassuming Ray team, and I was using my Thrawn lead Vader squad, and I was sure I was just going to go in and destroy them. And well, here's the problem though. So my speeds were just a little bit out of sync from what I was expecting, and uh, when Vader went to when he got his turn, like I did all my opening moves and everything. When I got Vader's first turn, I should have used the Thrawn special, that you get for having Thrawn lead. I should have used that to let Bastila let Bastila Fallen go, to let Treya go, to let all of these different characters go first before him. Just surrendered a little bit of turn meter, and then I could have killed Finn right away. I could have done all this stuff, but instead I just, like an idiot, plopped my cursor on his MM ability. I always forget what it's called. People make fun of me for forgetting, so for just butchering the name, which I get. But I hit that button, and then I couldn't kill anyone, and ended up like I was able to drag it out for a little while, but the end result was I killed nobody, and I had just thrown that whole team away, and that includes Treya lead, potentially, if I'd been able to keep that team. So the only other Ray killing team that I had that was actually a legitimate threat, because I put such strong defenses down, involves Jedi Knight Revan, Jedi Knight Luke and General Skywalker, and I did end up beating that team for 59. But and then the rest of the match I think was pretty interesting. Like there were a lot of different teams that I had to beat, and I had to really maximize my stuff. Like I think my favorite was I used Relic for Bosk and Boba plus Relic or plus Gear 12 Dengar, and then 6-star 11 Gear 11 Mando and Grief. So like the average gear was like Gear 12. I beat a fully relict First Order team with really great mods, and Mandalorian just killed both Kylos. It was pretty cool. Proto Prevail says MM equals my memory. Damn it all. Anyway, so I got a few good counters in. I think like I used Night Sisters to kill Commander Luke, all this stuff. And in the end, I just couldn't get through his Grievous squad in the back. It derailed me too hard. And then my opponent went in and just kind of chest poked me for like some really horrifically inefficient banners. That's why I hesitate to call him an efficiency player. He did keep a lot of good things on offense, but really bad banners. But he got just a little bit more than me and beat me. So.
Oh, and as the chat says, you did beat the Geo team. You may be the first person I've ever seen whittle down a Geo team.
that was a bonus. Man, that was so miserable trying to claw down in the back zone. I'm like, this Geo team will die. And then in the end, I don't know how it happened. It worked though. So yeah, it was. I came off of that match. I was like, I know I'm gonna lose because this is the way my opponent plays. Like he was undefeated going into this match. He got full ban. Or he didn't get full banners. I was 1,400 banners ahead of him. Both of us at 5-0 going into the match, and that's after our defenses were placed. Just because his strategy isn't to full clear, it's just to out efficient his opponent however he can and win, and it's just a really frustrating tactic. So
yeah,
I mean, good on him. I need to change my strategy. If I had kept Supreme Leader Kylo in front, I think maybe I still would have won, but I ended up with the loss, an entertaining loss at least, but a loss. So 2-1 on the evening, dear Lord, on the week, and I guess I can stop having dreams of having another perfect season. So how did your match 3 go, Solo?
Oh, it went. So here's the thing. My defenses are set up, like I said, so that I can make mistakes. And if my opponent makes no mistakes, they're generally going to win. So we had the stream, and I was stupid in my team selection. I was going up against a nest, and it honestly wasn't that difficult of a nest. But so I took my JTR team. I've won with my JTR team against nest hundreds, if not more, of times. It's the easiest counter I know, except for I really wanted to play with Vet Han because Vet Han he's truly a fantastic character. Like his rework, and you give him some relics, he's a lot of fun to play with on that JTR team. Except for this was the first time I was actually playing with him, and I completely forgot that he had stagger on his basic. So I timed out against Nest strictly because Vet Han kept taking away all of her turn meter. It sounds so stupid. That's no joke, has haunted me for the past 24 hours. It's absurd how much I've thought about that one battle. But my hope was that my opponent would still... no more, it will not happen again. My hope was that I've never had or I shouldn't say never. Since we've gotten Galactic Legends, I haven't had an opponent full clear me in one shot. this entire time. There's always been at least one loss that I forced them into. Well, I went up against the guy that, for the first time, full cleared me in one shot. He scored 19-12. And there went that dream of a perfect season. So Nev is, hiding in the chat now with the Grand Arena Center. Technically I was in second place, but we were all tied for first place. And at the top of Division One, it was me, Endall, and Fruit Ninja Mike, and Mike was just ahead on banners. And unfortunately, now I'm going to drop below Mike. Mike for sure. I'm assuming Endall went 3-0. I haven't paid attention. We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow night on Nev's stream. And so disappointing. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm 5-1 on that account, and realistically, it's hard to complain about 5-1, but 6-0 just sounds so much better.
Dude, I agree. That sucks. It just sucks to lose in general. It makes me so frustrated. But but I don't know. In the end, like, did you have a good showing? I think you've shown pretty well. Like, in the end, we're all gonna lose sometimes, and it sucks to lose. It's not fun. You and I both had a great learning moment, though. Like,
that we did.
For you, like, it sucks that you lost. Like, it was a funny thing, actually, because we were doing our group live stream, so Klessa was there, and we were all three of us were like, man, like, Veteran Han is actually great with Ray. This rework, this is really cool. Like, all three of us were having like this like, whoa, mind blown kind of thing. And then at the very end, it was like it was just like we realized how bad he was in that situation in particular. We were like, man, for like 3 minutes, he was like the best find ever.
And he still is. I will say this: if you're not going up against Nest, adding Vethan to your JTR team, a lot of people do it on defense because of the Clash video that came out last 5v5. So, like, back in June. Bringing him on offense, even without Vet Chewy, because I didn't have Vet Chewy there, he was just destroying the rest of the team. He was so much fun to play with. Just don't bring him with Nest. And I think the real problem is I didn't realize that Han was applying stagger until too late. There was like a minute left when I realized it. If I had realized right when it was much earlier in the match, I could have easily gotten around that. I would have just slowly attacked Nest, throughout, and not ignored her to the end like I normally do. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Now, I will say, if the goal is obviously always 12-0, but if you had told me at the beginning of Grand Arena, hey, halfway through you're going to be on pace for 10-2 in easy Kyber, and you're going to put on a good showing, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So that's exactly where I'm at now. So I feel disappointed, but I think when we finish the Grand Arena season, as long as I keep this pace, I'll still be happy.
Exactly. And that's the thing I have to remind myself. I'm like, okay, so yes, like, having this GA Center competition thing is great, but in the end, like, if I just need to play my game, and if I end up with a 10-2 record or something, hopefully 11-1. Of course, I'm going for that, but 10-2 ain't bad. I'm happy with that. Like,
right.
Every season, I'm happy. That's legit Kyber, so to speak. Like, you'd still make Kyber in the really exclusive version without ships. So, yeah, I'm not gonna beat myself up too much, and I've learned a really valuable lesson to pay attention to in my Vader kills. So,
right.
Right. And I was actually able to do that with my Vader team against a Ray with Malik in Territory Wars today, and I was able to just stomp that team.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
I don't know if it's stomp is quite the right word, but
Yeah, yeah. We're not talking about territory wars though because it's miserable.
well, yeah, it was just nice to get some practice in on my GL counter
It
without
is.
having to beg someone from Arena to put in a team for me. But otherwise, you're right. You're right. Territory wars. This is where we go to escape territory war madness for a few hours.
Yes,
So
yes, it is. Um, so with that, that's our weeks. You know, hey, that kind of brings us to the next section. So before we go there, we did have two follows while we are talking about um, our week. So thank you, Rambam. Thank you, Wolf. Appreciate the follows. Um, yeah, thanks for joining us. And with that said, we can get into the podcast questions, of which there weren't many this week. In fact, it's basically one, but technically two.
yeah.
All right, so Zareth, what's the best reinforcement for a General Grievous fleet in Grand Arena? Is there any strategy where you purposely don't fill all the slots so you get the reinforcement order that you desire?
For General Grievous, so you've been pushing us to do this in Territory Wars, and I've been doing it anyways. I've been doing it in GAC as well. Every once in a while, I'll get a defense, and so I actually, I think for General Grievous, you want to put in. I know that some people say you should put Falcon in, and really good players are not going to end up timing out against the Falcon almost ever. I haven't seen that happen. I've seen it happen before, but not to good players who are prepared. Honestly, I like having Spy as one of the first, as one of the initial characters, like trade out. I know the like the team that most people place is, and it's really strong. The team everyone wants to play though is Vulture, Hyena, and Sunfac. Instead of
Yeah.
Sunfac as one of them, put Spy in there, and Spy does some pretty interesting things there, and it can surprise people. I faced it before just one time, and it surprised me. It ended up killing like Ahsoka or something. I was like, whoa, didn't expect that. Like, still
Yeah.
won, but it was surprising, and so I think honestly for Malevolence, that's I usually don't fill all my slots actually. Um, and the same with we could talk about Negotiator in a minute, but
Yeah.
honestly, if you're putting Malevolence on defense, there's almost no surprise thing that's really going to help you win against Negotiators. So
Yeah, yeah. The spy thing, you know, it's funny. I do it, and I've been doing it the entire time in Grand Arena. I rarely get it to actually work for me in Grand Arena, but when we have territory wars, no joke, our fleet sections, when we put that as defense, get at least I don't know, like 6 or 7 holds every single territory war with that lineup, and it amazes me because we're basically stealing free banners from them. Because in theory, fleets should be just easy. You know, you have Malevolence, you have Negotiator. You're gonna have one of them on offense. You should just walk through a team. But in Territory Wars, they don't. That is my favorite lineup. I know there is another lineup that um, people will put the Vulture droid as the first reinforcement and then not put any reinforcements after. And the idea essentially is you just keep pumping out Vulture droids. Because instead of calling reinforcements, they're calling more Vulture droids, or you know, using a special that populates another Vulture droid essentially. And that way, when they assist, it's, you know, you have 4 Vulture droids assisting as opposed to 2 Vulture droids assisting. Um, so I do know of that strategy. I personally think that's easier to beat. I've run into it a couple times and I've never had a problem with it. But in theory, it makes sense. I just I wouldn't promote that idea essentially.
You know what I wish? I wish the CG would make a rule that if you have malevolence, you have to place it on defense in Grand Arena. Just because I just really love being able to ignore fleets. If I could place my own malevolence down, they can
Yep.
place theirs, and it like the score varies by about 2 banners one way or another. Like I'll get 63, he'll get 65 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And everyone puts down the Falcon too, which once they open it up to two fleets, I imagine that basically stops. But
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't find it that big of a deal. Like, the AI never kills my Anakin when I go up against the Malevolence. So it just takes one more turn of an Anakin AoE to kill the two side Vulture droids, and then my team gets to beat up on the Falcon. Like, it's not some trick anymore. The first time people did it, like that first week, it was a trick. It was kind of the surprise thing that you weren't expecting.
Right.
Now I 100% expect to see the Millennium Falcon come out as a reinforcement, so I just save my Anakin AoE. um, and they said it in chat. Falcon is more annoying for Malevolence mirrors, and that's absolutely true. And same reason I have Falcon when I do my arena climbs. I climb with Malevolence and then stick Negotiator in overnight. And when I do my climbs, I always have Falcon in there just in case things are going bad, and then you bring in Falcon, and the AI doesn't know how to play it. So there is that as well. But yeah.
You know what I wish? I wish that here's a fun gripe. It's not that fun. I wish that the fleet Discord wouldn't hide all their stuff
Oh
behind
my god, that's so annoying.
like you have to like talk to people about fleet and stuff. Like you have to actually post a bunch of stuff on Discord in order to actually access a lot of their rooms, and
Yeah.
it's all gated. And frankly, it's like, what of interest do I have to talk about except asking for tech that you're not allowing me to see because I don't have the accesses to it because I haven't typed random stuff. Like I should
Right.
just type my whole sentence one letter at a time in order to like get promoted to get into these rooms. Because I would love to be able to research more fleet
hmm
stuff, and maybe not love, that might be too strong, but
Yeah.
I've tried a few times, and every time I'm like, there's no room I can really engage with people in. And I know because I've talked to a couple random people in there, I know that there's actually a few rooms like that I've unlocked. I know that there's more, and that's probably where all the high level discussion is going on at. It
Yeah.
just drives me crazy. So
Yeah. I joined that server. I saw that I can't see any of the rooms, and I was like, "This is goddamn stupid." And then I put it on mute, and I said, "Okay, I'm never going to look at this server again unless their quote unquote rules change." 2 years later, it's the same thing where I can't see fleet information. I was like,
well, it
well,
looks
what's
like it's dead initially.
right? Yeah, uh, Ross. um,
Ross in the comments says, Zareth Prevails thinks that there's a high level fleet discussion anywhere.
it might not be high level, but it's higher level than we can see in their Discord server, which AKA means literally talk about fleets because there's no other talk that you can see on their Discord server. And it's a shame because every once in a while I'll see a post from one of like the admins from the Fleet Discord server where they have this well thought out post, and I'm like, man, I wish I could talk to you or see any of that on your actual server. It would be really useful, but I can't. So, all right. uh
Well,
anyway,
what I would like, I just want alternate ways to, like, I want off meta counters. I want to be able to use my finalizer, or I'm assuming that Holdo's ship isn't usable because I never see that anywhere. But I would like to actually see like what things are people trying with their rebel fleets to take down Negotiator, because I know that exists. I actually
Right.
in my alt shard, which it's a little newer, but there's still, it's just a ton of 7-star negotiators
Mm.
with maxed characters. Like that's what it is. And like there's still one guy who climbs to number one every day. He never falls out of top 20, who runs Empire.
Yeah. Yep.
And I just want to know what those discussions are like, and I can't find them, and it drives me crazy as a high level player.
Yeah.
I've had a couple people recently. They're like, "Dude, you're so good at squad or at squad GAC, and you're so bad at ships." Like, thank you, and you're a dick at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll talk about it. All right. So we might as well just start talking about the next podcast question, which is 3 words. Same with negotiator. So an ideal, lineup for negotiator. And here's the thing. So yesterday, yesterday was Sunday. Yesterday, we have this holiday stream where it's you, me, and Klesso, and all 3 of us approach the negotiator versus malevolence fight completely differently. And we won't get into your fight, but in theory, um, it's uh, all 3 strategies work. I would have loved to have been able to discuss with people these strategies on a server that's made for discussing fleet strategy, so I could know what the benefits were. Because it's like I get yelled at by Deranged in chat every time I do a stream about, what do you mean you have Ahsoka starting against Malevolence? You can't do that. And then Klesso doesn't use 5s. You and Deranged use 5s. And it's like, if only there was a place that we could all discuss this and figure out what the actual best comp was for banners. Weird.
Maybe we should just make a channel on our Discord called Ships.
Yeah, but then we actually have to talk about fleet.
We can just mute it and let other people talk, and then every once in a while we'll poke our heads in, and if there's something good, we'll steal it.
I like it.
Mute it.
Let's do it.
It's so dumb it just might work.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I do. I want to. The thing is, and Ross in the chat was just saying like, he's trying to have 4 good fleets, because eventually CG is going to make us place 2 fleets, and we're going to need 4 decent fleets.
Yeah.
And I know how to use 3 fleets pretty well. I would not say I know how to use more than that. More than just like, okay, well, Tarkin's next special is up, so I guess I'm just going to use that. I guess I was getting okay with Thrawn for a while, but it's been a while since I've used him, except for in the random territory battle fleet stuff.
I had to use, I forget when. I had to use an Akbar fleet. It was probably a territory war because somebody left something straggling. And I legitimately forgot how to do a Millennium Falcon mirror match. Like, we did it for a year, basically, because fleet metas change once a year, not every couple months. It's been so long, I was like, what do I do next? It's like, oh, right, Cassian. Call in Cassian. That's, yeah.
Well, my main, or my alt actually, is my main source of actually being able to, like, I have a lot of good fleet diversity there. Like, I don't use my negotiator. I always put that on defense on my alt, but I have a 7-star malevolence as well on that account, and I have, like, my first fleet was Millennium Falcon, so I use malevolence in the Falcon all the time, especially the Falcon. Like, for a long time I used the Falcon because you get more banners with a 7-star home one / Falcon fleet than you do using a 6-star or lower ship like the Malevolence. So it's just a funny situation, but I get more practice and fleet diversity with my alt than I do with my main.
Yeah, my main, uh, admittedly, my fleet shard, I've been gifted this fleet shard. Recently, because this meta has been going on so long, I've started dropping down to 14, and it's made me angry, because usually in the past I haven't dropped out of the top 10. Um, but you're really not gleaming much from my fleet shard. Before I was doing the switch between climb with malevolence and place negotiator overnight, even though everyone had a 7-star malevolence, nobody actually ran it. I think we had 2 people not in the chat run understarred malevolences and climb, and then I was the first person to actually switch to a malevolence in the shard chat. And then I look at my alt, where no joke, people will finish at 1 and start their climb at in the 40s. It's just so absurdly busy. I think our shard chat has 40 people in it. And so, like, the complete difference amazes me.
That is crazy, man. I don't know. Anyways, we've talked about fleet a lot lately. I'm bored with it though. Let's move on.
All right.
Oh, you know what? We didn't actually answer the question here though.
We didn't.
So here's the thing. For setting good stuff on defense, with the negotiator, there is actually a lot of potential for being tricky. First off, like negotiator fleets on defense, if you're trying to use the malevolence to counter them, malevolence hates it when Plo comes in first.
Yeah.
So if you can so what my advice to everyone is, and I've done this a couple times actually, when I know that someone is going to place their negotiator on defense, I'll be like, okay, I'll play that game out because I'm pretty good with my malevolence. So I put my negotiator on, and of course now I'm screwing myself when I face these people. But what you do is, if you know they're going to be using malevolence to counter you, first off, you start with Ahsoka instead of 5s in the starting lineup. So you have Anakin and Ahsoka and Houndstooth, and then you put 0 tanks in your lineup in reinforcements. I'm trying to remember now if 5s gets in there or not, but
yeah, you do put 5s in, but 5s. So in theory, it will call from the left to the right, but only for similar ships. Like, if it's going to call an attacker, it's going to call in the attacker that's listed first. If it's going to be... So if the AI thinks you're going to need a tank, that's why you put no tanks as the subs. Because the AI is always going to call in a tank, no matter where it's positioned. But if there are no tanks, and it can only call in a support ship, it will call from the left to the right.
Right. Well, so it's pretty awesome, actually, and it's really frustrating too. Like, there's certain guys on my fleet shard now that I have to avoid and on my climb if I'm using malevolence, because they even start with 5s, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because 5s is like the perfect opening. If it's 5s and Jedi Knight Anakin, then malevolence, it usually has game. But there's a couple of people I have to avoid now because they know this trick and they have Plo come in first, and it makes me swear viciously. If I don't have a perfect start, then it just doesn't work out. So you want really negotiator also usually hates it if if the flow comes in first. So I would say if you're going to place Negotiator on defense, don't put Clone Sergeant, even if you were crazy and got Clone Sergeant to like Relic 4. Don't put Y-Wing in, even though Y-Wing is a really legitimately awesome ship. Just put random stuff. So that fight against Episdoe that I had, he was gonna beat me on ships, but he forfeited and all of that stuff. You know, we've rehashed that forever. But you guys were making fun of me because I didn't know what to put in my last reinforcement because I was doing that exact thing that we're talking about, and so it was just you guys were like, why didn't you put in a final reinforcement? I was like, for fun, because I didn't want anyone to know about it at the time. But that's exactly it. I was just like, I don't know what other ship I can put in that's like going to, you know, not come in an inopportune way. So since then, people have said if I put Wedge in or a TIE Fighter in, but both of those are acceptable. But anyways, it's a pretty legit trick in my opinion. It works pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Now we can get on to our next segment. Actually, Lando's Falcon will always be called last, as well it should, because it's just better when it comes out last, frankly.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So we both have alts. We have. So your alt is sitting. What is it? It's Division 2 now, or
so
on the
Division
cusp.
2. Yeah, it'll be Division 2 no matter what next time. I waited. It was at like 3.7 before I joined for this Grand Arena, and once I was joined, I went crazy on a crazy upgrade spree. I totally now I have all the different Jawas, the 7 stars and everything on the alt. So now I'm actually at 3.9. I just hit 3.9.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all right.
Division 3 though.
Anyway, Division 3. So yours is Division 3. Mine is well into Division 1. In fact, if this was the GA Center, my alt would be competing in the quote-unquote elite division at the top as well. So how'd your alt do this week?
Well, Solo, I'm in the middle of an epic run on my alt. Going into this week, I was what at 62 consecutive wins, which is fun. It's a cool thing to have won that many in a row, and my group was just not that strong. I'm like almost embarrassed posting the videos from this week on it. My first match was actually pretty interesting though. My opponent listens to our podcast. And my alt is almost never the one that people recognize. Like I get hit up on my main most weeks. Most weeks someone recognizes me and say, hey, I know about your channel or whatever. And I don't say that as, you know, like a pat on the back to myself. I just, you know, as someone who continues to make content, it's, you know, people are going to remember Zareth, or at least the name, you know, and then they'll ask their friend like, hey, who is this guy? You know, he seems familiar, and then their friend will be like, dude, that's Zareth from that one obscure YouTube channel or that podcast. And then they'll without actually having remembered any of my videos, they'll message me and say, hey, I love your videos, they are amazing, I'm excited to face you. And you know, so that'll happen on the higher end of things. But like my alt never gets that. But this guy was like, dude, I listen to your podcast every time, you know, every week, and I appreciate that, honestly. You know, if you're listening today, really appreciate that. So that being said, I beat that person, my opponent, pretty handily. He was impressed by my defenses. The thing is that that account also has really good mods, and if you're not ready for that at that level, it can be pretty rough. So I'm happy enough that I got the win on that. The second match was almost nothing. A lot of my opponents lately have had negotiator now lately, so I've started transitioning to using my malevolence. I think I used it all 3 matches this time, even though it was only 6-star. And then the final match, I was just so we did our big stream last night. It was like 4 hours, and I was so tired. I didn't want to run my alt live, so I actually just recorded it. I recorded it live, so to speak, but I didn't stream it. And I think I'm going to title that that specific match. That when I post it, it'll be called "Was this really the? This is actually the finals." Something like that. Because the guy, I was just like, how did you get here? Like, no real offense to this guy. I was just like, his mods were all over the place. He placed some really weird stuff on defense. He only had 5 characters at gear 13, and those characters were all like relic 5 and above. And it was just a very confusing roster. So beat that guy very soundly. I'm going for top 10 this time. We got top 10 on that alt a while ago. Going for top 10 one more time before I get division 2 on that alt. And I'm considering just completely throwing that alt away at some point because it's taking too much time. But I think I might try. My goal, it might be to try to get to 100 wins or whatever Mamba's record is. Maybe if I could get like one win more and then quit. So. Anyways, that was my alt. How was your alt, Solo?
Well, I went 3-0, so it brings me to 5-1 for the season. Actually, I think I'm on a 5-game or 5-match winning streak on the alt now because I lost the first one, like literally the first in the first round, and it made me all paranoid that I was going to have a tough time. But I'm now 5-0. Honestly, the first 2 fights this week, there was nothing to write home about. They were just kind of the standard match. The final match, and I mentioned it earlier, I have an opponent that had double Galactic Legends. His roster was quite possibly the strangest roster I've ever seen.
Nice.
Yeah, he had double Galactic Legends. He didn't have Negotiator or Malevolence. Like, he had neither. And then he was missing a bunch of just random characters as well that a standard player would have. And it wasn't that he... it wasn't a new whale situation where you look and they have this huge roster. They don't have anything with GET tokens, and they have no Zetas. Like, that's not the situation. Because when it came to Zetas, he still had 100 Zetas, which my alt has 106. So there's not that big of a difference there. But he had no mods. He still only had a 5-star Nest. He had a 6-star Watt. No Negotiator, no Malevolence. His Houndstooth was awful because his Bosk is awful. But he had double Galactic Legends. And so he made the championship, literally, because I compared the point totals. He made the championship by putting the double Galactic Legends down, and then he would only attack half the board. And he would win because his double Galactic Legends stopped everybody in the 2 matches prior. So I went in, and I kept my Ray for offense. So I did Ray versus Supreme Leader Kylo. I lost, but I was still able to get it down to just Kylo, and then I was able to clean it up with my General Skywalker. And then I used Vader to take out his Ray. And he's one of those people that only puts Gear 1 tunes behind a double Galactic Legend wall thinking that you're not going to beat it. So,
Makes me so happy.
oh god, I know. And his top teams weren't tough. Like, I beat a Karth team, I beat a Bosk team that had 2 or 3 G11 team members in it. And now, mind you, we're in the bracket where my account is 6.3 million GP. Like, there's no excuse to have multiple teams with G11s, especially when in one zone you only put G1s. Like, there's. So, I, I I just walked through him. You know, I had a loss and I still scored 1921.
It's so funny, man. You showed me that. I was like, okay, cool. He full cleared with no fails. And then it occurred to me you were telling me about how you failed your
Right.
one attack, and I was
Yeah.
like, what? Wait, like it doesn't add up. And then I saw the stupid Gear 1 zone. I was like, why don't you at least just like put Old Republic
Right.
back
Put
there?
that awful Karth team back there. Like, at least I think I still got 60 banners against that, but I didn't get 64 from the easy solo that I did. I think I got a Brood Alpha solo on one of the teams, and I got a Wampa solo on the other team.
Oh yeah, and Wampa probably just did one AoE and called it good.
Well, same thing with Brood, because my Brood was fast enough since their Gear 1 that I went first. I just did his AoE, and there it was.
Deuces, yeah.
Yeah, so the alt finished on a high of literally that's the highest banners I've scored on the alt this Grand Arena, and that's with a loss.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so I'm 5-1 on the alt. I'm 5-1 on both accounts now. So, and I'm happy about it on the alt. Well, like we talked about earlier, I'm disappointed about it on the main account. Go figure.
Well, didn't you on your alt? You actually had a really rough 5v5 season last
I
season.
did
Didn't you?
it. I missed. I missed Kyber. I was on a what? Last 5v5 season was season 11 9. So I was on an 8 Kyber streak. Um, and I missed it because I unlocked the Galactic Legend and I was not ready to face other Galactic Legends. Um, so the improvement has made me happy.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Legit. So, let's see. We've got our alts are obviously badasses, and so in the face of double Galactic Legends coming out, so we'll move on to our next segment.
Yeah.
That was quite the transition by me there. And Nev is here. Like, I remember just a total tangent. I remember because Nev was hanging out here in the chat watching. I remember we were on the Escape podcast once. We were their guests, and Nev was saying, like, man, I can't believe how could anyone like sit there for 2 full hours and without any kind of break and talk about this game for 2 hours straight.
And that's what we do now.
I know, and well, and you and I were both like, that's basically what we do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they have transitions and they have actually like ads on their stuff, and it's cool. Like, I actually like the way their show is managed, so no shade thrown whatsoever. But it was just a funny thing. Like, yeah, that's just what we do. So,
Yeah.
and we also have no transitions at all, except for my failed ones like this one. So, the next segment and the penultimate one is, what are we doing to improve our roster to prepare for Grand Arena, get an edge, get ready for the next big thing, and also just to enjoy the game, because I started this game because it was a fun character collector game. Like, there wasn't Grand Arena for like the first year or two that I played it. So I still enjoyed the heck out of it, and Grand Arena has just expanded that enjoyment. And so we've got double Galactic Legends coming. Solo, how are you preparing, or not preparing, as you will?
So I kind of said earlier, I think my main account is just going for Luke because I literally already had, what was it, JTR, 3PO, and Old Ben ready. And Mon Mothma and Chupio are maxed until I get them to stars. They're at gear 11 with all the gear applied that I can. So I spent the last week getting Piet to gear 11, and that's it. I started farming some gear, Kairos, just because I know I'm going to need them. I don't know which ones I need, but at some point for the Luke requirements, I'm going to need the Kairos. So I just started farming them because I might as well farm something. You know, try and get ahead before we know how to get ahead.
Right. Well, and I think that's the thing is I don't know. We need to. There's some of the characters that are coming out. It's like Piet. Why wouldn't we put gear on him right now? Like he's gonna be good right now, but it's also hard because you need that gear for other characters potentially,
Yeah,
such as Farm Boy Luke, as someone has said in the comments. But I don't know. Like so you've gotten Piet. What else have you done?
that's it. That was my week. It was a very exciting week. I cannot wait. Really hope these requirements are announced tomorrow so I can list somebody as in my favorites and actually just start farming for them. I didn't apply any relic levels. I think I have over 300 of the fragmented and the incomplete signal data is just waiting to be applied, but I'm not doing that again this time. I'm waiting to apply my relics.
Wise. See, I was up to almost 300 each, and then I got Chupio.
Funny how that drains it.
Well, I regret nothing on getting him up to Relic 5.
No, no, no. As well, you should not. But yeah. So I've got relic material saved. Like that's what I did. I've also started the Zeta save. Because the new Galactic Legends are going to need 6. So what I did for the last ones was I saved up to 120, and then when I got up to 140, I applied one. And then, just kind of did it that way. So I'm at 63 out of 20 now for Zeta. So I have 3 full Zetas saved up, and I'm not going to apply one until I get up to 6.
I wonder where I'm at. I guess I can check some other time. But yeah, so the stuff that I've been working on, I've been saving Zetas as well. I put both on Piet. I don't really regret it. I didn't intend to initially throw them on him right away, but once I accidentally did I was just like leveling him up, and I kind of got distracted, and so I was just like, yes, of course I want to upgrade that ability. And I was like, oh wait, that like I actually didn't even realize that that's what I had done until I looked at my I saw the guild chat, and it said Zareth has applied the Zeta such and such to Piet. And I was like, I wanted to be like no, but I was like, I actually, wow, I don't regret that. So then I just went and followed through and put the other one on, because
Yeah.
why the hell not? Because they're both actually pretty darn awesome Zetas. But yeah, my biggest thing, I mini whaled on Chupio. You're doing that too, aren't you?
Sort of, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
very slowly doing it, but in theory, I'm doing it.
Yeah. So I got Chupio, and he's Relic 5 now, and he is awesome, and there are no regrets for that. Even if I do end up going for, I'm guessing I'm gonna want Palpatine first, is my guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read Luke's kit, and it will annoy me, and just like Rey's kit annoys me. I don't want to use her. I just want to put her on defense, and I'm guessing that's the same way it's gonna be for Luke. And I still don't regret the Chupio thing. Otherwise, uh, I've just been going crazy, going to town on shards. Now that I have my Rey ultimate on her, now I can actually spend energy on farming the different characters. So I'm getting the Rebel Y-Wing, and what's his name? Grief. I always want to call him Greer for some reason. Just as a strange aside. But Grief and Y-Wing, I do 2 refreshes on, so 15 attempts a day. Mando, I do 15 attempts a day. The Y-Wing, or the TIE Bomber, I do 15 attempts a day. And Kara, I do 15 attempts a day. So that's where most of my energy is going. But I'm getting close. Mando and Grief are both at 70 out of 100.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I'm almost there. And honestly, after, dude, that energized me, man. That loss, I know it sucks that I lost. I'm sad, but it pushed me into using all these counters that I just haven't had to try. And really, that was kind of the theme of the week. Like that's what I did. I tried all these different new things to me, and it just kind of expanded my excitement. Like having a Bosk team be able to kill First Order and then turn around and use First Order to counter their bounty hunters, it was just a really cool thing. Even though I ended up losing that match, and I didn't even mention that. I was feeling kind of depressed, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
But like there was a lot of cool things that happened in that match, and I'm excited to have bounty hunters be more relevant. Once I get these bounty hunters up to relic levels, I'm excited. So I'm really hoping the CG is going to be like, oh, and Zareth, by the way, green light, you can put gear on Mando and Grief because they're required stuff.
They make perfect thematic sense with the Galactic Legends.
Oh, I know it's too much to hope for, but I mean,
Yeah.
then I'd be like, sure, yeah, I'll go for Luke, or
Yeah, right.
or Emperor, whatever. They probably, if those 2 were required, which I wouldn't be that surprised, just because they've already shown that they want to require these newish releases. If they do, I bet they split them up and have like Grief, because I'm surprised he's light side, frankly. I guess in the end he's light side.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm excited. I'm farming, I'm saving up my gear, and Shore Trooper is on my favorites list, and I'm hoping, that's what I really hope. I hope Shore Trooper is required for Sith Eternal Emperor or whatever. So
Yeah. It's funny. Talk about the Grief and Mando farms. So Grief, Mando, and Kara. This tells you all about RNG. They were all started at the same time. I do the same amount. I do 10 battles each day. My Grief is at 62 out of 100. My Mando's at 49 out of 100. And Kara's at 57 out of 100. So it's just so funny to see how far ahead Grief is pulled compared to Mando. It's what, 13? Yeah, 13 shards. So that's almost like 3 full days worth of farming for me.
that's really funny how that works. Yeah, like I actually got a bunch of Grief shards for the Galactic Challenges thing, and that was cool. I'm happy that I got that, but I was like, man, now Grief is way out ahead of Mando, and it's stupid anyways because I have to farm that shard, or I have to farm that node forever anyways because Y-Wing is
Right.
right behind Grief. But Mando has actually passed Grief. Well, he did for a while. I guess Grief has kind of come back, but yeah, like for a while, Mando was like 10 ahead of Grief, even despite having gotten like 7 free Grief shards. So
Yeah. Yeah. My Y Wing's not in awful shape. I'm at 26 out of 100. So it's probably only 10-ish days behind Grief, which isn't, which that's not too bad. A week and a half. I can live with in a week and a half of extra farming of that node.
yeah, dude. Honestly, I'm just excited to be done with farming for a while.
Yeah. Just in
Like
time for Piet.
Also, we'll have Piet and Mothma, and I guess we'll have Chupio, though I've already whale farmed him.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it'll give me license to just go crazy on Mothma and Piet, potentially like do 3 refreshes of 20 attempts or something nuts like
Right.
that. And yeah, I honestly, so my people are saying that they can't keep up with the farms and everything, and I get that to some degree. I think, and this is something we should probably talk about in a different podcast, frankly, because we're about done here, we're about to wrap up. But I really think, and this is just my take, so it would be a good discussion because I think you have a different take on it actually. I on my alt, I'm getting pretty close to having farmed everything because I have never ever farmed gear on my alt on any node. I have always just farmed characters. And so as such, like you max, and I do 3 refreshes on energy every day. Like you can get everything farmed up, and my alt is pretty close to current in terms of farming. And um anyways, I'm a strong proponent of when something new is out, you farm it to the best of your ability. Maybe you don't do refreshes, maybe you can't do that, but I think even like my alt has a gear 1 red trooper, gear 1 hux, gear 1 resistance hero Finn, gear 1 resistance hero Poe, and they're all 7 stars. So I don't know, for what it's worth. We should probably save that for a different time, though.
Yeah, that's a longer discussion.
I think it's that would be a good discussion to have, though. Frankly, um, and people have been asking me a lot lately about like how you do mid game stuff, because for whatever reason, I think it's because of my alt, I've kind of developed a reputation as being a mid game quote unquote expert, and I hesitate to say expert really, like, but there's not much content for that level of the game. And so people want to see my perspective. I think we should probably start talking more about that stuff.
Fair. Fair.
Anyways, guys, I think I'm ready to just throw up my hands in exhaustion and call this done.
Yeah, I agree. So, Zareth, why don't you tell people how to find us?
All right, Solo. So I think it's time for a change because we give our spiel and I have no idea how many people actually listen to us. So here's what I'm going to say, guys. If if you're listening on Spotify or just using the libsyn link, there we will have links to our Discord, to our counters sheet, which is great, and you should check it out. We'll have links to our YouTube channel and our Twitch. Everything will be there. If you are listening on iTunes, what I advise is go to YouTube, find Solo and I's channel, which you can find my channel by searching my name, Xaereth for Zareth, or Solo Base 15, SoloBass15. Search either of us on YouTube, find one of our latest videos, and in the video description there, you'll find links to all of those things. Highly recommended that you check out our Discord server. We have a lot of really great resources. Come just check us out. We want to hang out with you guys. We started live streaming these podcasts because we like that interaction, and it's been a lot of fun. So come hang out with us, and yeah, if
Yeah.
you don't, then you're missing out, frankly.
Facts. Saving the facts for the end.
And Enigmatic Potatoes has actually just put up a link. I assume it is to our Discord server.
It is. Yes.
Nice. So if you're watching on Twitch right now, you can check that out.
Or even on the replay.
Yep, absolutely.
Real Abner Dune. The real Abner Dune, thank you for the follow. Right at the end.
Appreciate it, brother.
You working? uh,
Maybe we should.
yeah,
If we
yeah,
had any
right.
money.
Put some people
There
to
you
work. All right. That is the end of our stream, though. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us. It was a good time as usual. Hopefully, we will have some news to talk about next week, so we're not just blathering on for the hell of it. And with that said, it is time to call it a stream. So thank you, everyone. And remember, evil sucks.
And also remember, and slightly less important, don't be dicks.